Hey, this is Aaron.
And this is Kristen.
This is the Drive Mode Show.
Hey, Aaron, today let's talk about the new upcoming Sequoia. The Toyota Sequoia for 2023 is supposed to be all new. How new do we think it's going to be?
I am hoping it's going to be a complete revamp because I think it's 10 or 12 years old or more at this point.
It is definitely long in the tooth. It is time for it to be updated. So, what do we think they're going to do with it? Do you want to start with the exterior?
Sure. First off, the current Sequoia is basically straight out of the 90s. It's a big big SUV for being big sake. Uh, it's got it's bulbous, right? It's got bulky fenders. It's got a large grille. It's a very truck-like vehicle. I think Toyota would be smart to de-emphasize that. They've given a couple of teasers. They're not enough to really know. But just looking at like the rear end that I think they sent out this morning, it is going to be a little cleaner, it looks like. I would like to see the fenders straighten out, the bodywork get a little flatter, and the grille de-emphasized. Now the grille could do that because you don't need as much grille space if you don't have a giant V8.
I think that Toyota is going to sculpt the Sequoia a little bit. If it were a supermodel, they'd be accenting her cheekbones. I think that they're going to give it a little bit more definition like they have with the minivan, the Sienna. And I think that that is much needed.
Yes. And then we've talked about the V8 is probably gone. The new Tundra does not have the 5.7 in it, and I don't think the Sequoia will either.
Agreed. I think they're going to end up swapping out that 5.7 V8 for the 3.4 liter twin turbo V6 that is in the new Tundra. And that would make a lot of sense, right?
That would make tons of sense. First off, so it's important for people to know that the Sequoia and the Tundra are literally built on the same production lines. So they have tons of things in common. They are very, very similar. The Lexus brand just launched the LX600, which will replace the LX570, which is based on the Toyota Land Cruiser, but still shares commonality with the Sequoia as well. And the new LX has a simpler body type, body design, and it has a new infotainment and expanded interior. So those things will probably, because they've already showed up in the Tundra, I bet you they show up in the Sequoia as well. Also, having that 3.4, so close, V6 gives the lots of open opportunity for electrification, hybrids and plug-in hybrids especially.
Yep. And we know that Toyota is very good at hybrids. They have been good at hybrids for a long time. And it's going to be interesting to see how far they go down that road because Akio Toyota expressed some skepticism about where electrification is going to go and if grid is ready. And they're leaning more toward hybrid engines. So this is right in their wheelhouse.
Mm-hmm. And he was brave enough to say it. Almost everybody in the industry knows it, but very few as far as manufacturers, will come out and say it because it's not politically expedient right now. But we are not likely to have almost every vehicle battery electric in 10 years or so. It's going to take longer than that. And Toyota, being conservative, like you said, they are going to take the longer road and they're going to transition rather than jump. And I think more and more manufacturers are going to follow that same route. Ford, they have plugins for a whole bunch of their vehicles now. That are either on the market or coming. And I think that totally makes sense. It's a better option. I just drove the Ford Escape Hybrid plug-in, and it's a great vehicle. Jeep, same thing. The 4xe platform, wonderful. That's a great transition there. So I can see Toyota going that way. They've already hybridized pretty much everything in their fleet except the Tundra and the Sequoia and the Land Cruiser. So basically everything that's not gigantic has already been made into a hybrid. And now that they moved to these six-cylinder engines, it's clearly writing on the wall that that's going to happen with these.
Yeah, and speaking of the long road, the Lexus was also due for an update. Very, very capable off-road. Same with the Sequoia, same with the 4Runner. These can go stock into an off-road situation, even according to legend Ivan Stewart. So we know that these vehicles are really good off-road, but they needed a facelift, both of them, and they needed an update on the technology side. So that brings me to the next point. Another long road is the planning for the infotainment upgrade. Lexus went through years of planning to get that done, and now they've gotten rid of the old touchpad that most people I know couldn't stand and replaced it with this touchscreen. But what they did that was really smart on the Tundra is that they made it so that pickup truck drivers also like the combination of touchscreen and buttons. It's not all touchscreen, and that was a really good move.
Very good move. The one of the problems that I have with a lot of especially electric vehicles, but a lot of vehicles now is manufacturers, and some of them they're trying for that future look, right? So they're trying to look futuristic, and one of the ways they do that is by eliminating buttons. And when they do that, it makes it very difficult to just change the channel or raise the volume or any of those things, right? Those common everyday things that we do. And that, I think, is that's not a good thing. And I don't see a future in vehicles with no buttons because it's just intuitive for us. And I think it always will be to grab something to make something happen. It's not intuitive for us to push buttons, to flip around virtual screens. It's more intuitive for us to grab and move. And especially if the goal is to keep eyes this way rather than this way. So if the eyes are on the road instead of on the infotainment, if that's the goal, you really do need those buttons and switches.
Now, that said, I hear you because I like a good combination of buttons myself, but I wonder what it's going to be like for the next generation. And I know with Toyota's BZ4X, they really showcase the voice commands, and the voice commands are very good. I can say, hey, Toyota, without a pause, hey, Toyota, change the station to channel 39, Hair Nation. Or I can say, hey, Toyota, turn up the temperature to 70. You can even just say, hey, Yoda, instead of hey, Toyota.
Oh, that's cool.
Say it fast, hey, Yoda. And it understands. And so those voice commands can help keep your eyes on the road too. So we'll see how that evolves. But I thought that was impressive. I
am a huge fan of Mercedes system. With the MBUX, you can just talk to it. Hey, Mercedes, tell it what you want.
Yep.
I apologize if you're in a Mercedes currently and it just did something. But it's a very good system. And I do think that is going to be where we're going to go. The little problem I have is I don't see things like volume being something that we do by voice. In my house, we have Alexa devices all over the place, and we have Google devices all over the place. And very rarely does anybody say, turn the volume to 6 or turn the volume to 12. Almost every time we grab the top of the thing and turn it.
See, I tell it, I'll say, turn it up 2 or turn it up 3 or turn it up. And I got used to doing that.
So I think that some of those little things are just going to always need buttons. I really think that's a good thing. Same with things you want to do really fast, like hit the mute button. You don't want to wait for it. You just want to go, oh, I'm trying to talk to somebody that just walked up to my window. You just want to hit a button.
Yeah, that's true.
So
that's true.
Now, the question is where the button is. It doesn't have to be on the console. It can just be on the steering wheel. And if you get used to where they are, then that's easy. So back to the Sequoia.
Segue.
We kind of went back to the Sequoia. I will also be interested to know if they change the rear so that it is independent suspension instead of a solid. Ford, General Motors, so Chevy, GMC, and they have gone away from those solid axles, and they've gained the benefit of that, which is in an SUV, you get more cargo space, you get a more accessible third row, because you gain more floor space, because now you don't have something running underneath it that you have to accommodate. Everything moves down. And that, I would hope that Toyota would do something similar in order to just open up the rear. And honestly, if they don't, marketing wise, they're losing out, because that means the competition has more.
That's true. I think that's a good point. It's going to be interesting to see if that's what they decided to do. We'll find out soon.
I do know that the reason it's almost 100% going to stay truck based is because the point of a big SUV like this is you want to be able to tow stuff and haul people around and carry things. So you want to be able to do truck stuff, but without the downers of a truck, that's not enclosed back there, and you can't fit extra people back there, right? So there's no pickup truck in the world that seats 7 without breaking seatbelt laws. So you need that that's what an SUV is for.
True. That's true. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what it looks like. And we know they're going to update the interior. It desperately needed it, and that means that this process has been going on for a couple of years, because they've got to do product planning way down the road, so I'm sure they're as relieved as we are to see it actually coming out. And I think it's going to launch within the next 2 weeks. So we'll find out if our predictions are on target.
Yeah. So Nostra-DriveMode.
Perfect.
We'll see. We'll try to follow up in the next 2 or 3 weeks and see where we were with it. Toyota is almost the last of the holdouts as far as updating their big SUVs. I think all that's left now is Nissan with the Armada. Everybody else has done some sort of update. So the Sequoia is a very steady seller. So Toyota was right to try to bring it up to date and not lose to the competition there. So it'll be really cool to see what they do. And we will do a follow-up to see how close we hit it. How's that?
Yep. And let me add on to that prediction. I think the 4Runner is next. It's due for a facelift and an overhaul, and it's got to be right behind.
It's got to be, but if the 4Runner changes, so does the Tacoma. So it will be interesting to see if either or both of them suddenly announce some sort of difference. The Tacoma is not very old in its current iteration.
Sure.
It might be old enough to see a change, because there's a lot of competition in the mid-sized truck market now.
Especially now, in the last 2 years, it's exploded. Yeah. And the Maverick is making huge, huge waves. So
yeah, the little car-based trucks are really killing it, and that's good. I like that. I like those kind of trucks. So there we go. That's our predictions for the Sequoia. We'll find out if we're right. This is Aaron.
And this is Kristen.
This is the Drive Mode Show. And you have to hit subscribe if you're going to see what changes. Find out if we're right by hitting subscribe. Really?